right, it looks like we're live. Let's call the meeting to order at 6:34. Let's call it 6:34, according to my clock here. All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mrs. Graves. Here. Dr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Stelzer.
Here.
All right, we're all here. All right, the regular minutes. Everybody's seen the minutes, read the minutes. Any questions regarding the minutes?
None here.
None here. All right, I need a motion and a second to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
please. Second from Rob. Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves, Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, we'll accept those minutes. All right, in communications, we only have two things tonight. You've seen Tony's new financial reports. I'd like to make a comment on these reports. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am really, really loving the new format of these reports. I mean, they're so much easier to sort of get a handle on. You know, they're broken down by department. Joe, did you have something to do with this?
A little bit.
All right.
So let me just say that about last week I did send out around a what I'm calling the monthly comparison of both revenues and expenses, and I've asked the department heads to get back to me, and we're actually projecting revenues and expenses for the last 3 months of the year, and adding that into the actual. I do need some feedback from some people, so if anybody has seen anything or have questions about anything, and you know, the only thing I've heard from is Tim so far, that a couple of the appropriation lines should be zero, because we don't pay fire pension or healthcare anymore to the fire chief. So there's a couple things like that popped out in this process. So hopefully within the next week or two, we can get a little more refined on our projection. But I can use everybody's help to take a look at that. And if you have any questions or have any comments or think some numbers should be changed, let's go ahead and do that and try to get it in place.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Like I said, definitely liking the new format on these reports, Tony or Eli, who's ever is totally responsible for this. All right, we have Tim's monthly September report. You've all probably taken a look at that. We also have a letter in this week regarding the self-contained breathing apparatus. And this was some very expensive equipment that we were going to be compelled to buy because there's a lifetime, limit on this kind of stuff. It was going to be very expensive, but Tim did some work and he got us a FEMA grant. It looks like, for really the bulk of this. I mean, potentially this could be saving the village somewhere in the neighborhood of about $115,000. So you all should take a look at that letter. I mean, this is good work on Tim's part. Saving big money for the village.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks, Tim. Kudos, shout out.
All right, the communication section of the agenda this meeting was very light, and now we're going to move on to our experiment. And I'm just asking that we all sort of have a little patience here, sort of bear with us, on this, permission to address council section. So Tony, are you geared up? You good to go there?
I'm ready. Nobody's got their hand up yet, so.
Nobody's got their hand up yet.
Can you
Okay.
explain everybody how to put your hand up? Because that might be something.
Oh, I don't know, but somebody just put their hand up, so I'm gonna let
Okay,
them
there you
speak.
go.
This is Monica. Go ahead.
Yes, I unmuted. I have sent you some information about the parking sticker.
Right.
And are you able to hear me? Because I can't
Yes,
see.
we are.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
okay.
can hear you. Thank you.
And just a little bit earlier, Rob sent me some more information, but he didn't have an answer to a couple questions. Why 12 streets are exempt and they can park overnight. If we have the same situation in our situation, is impossible. It's not just a hardship or a convenience, impossible for us to park our cars in our driveway. It's a very steep, short, stone-sided driveway. We only have 2 cars and extends over the sidewalk area. So I'm not sure why certain streets are exempt if their impossibility is also our impossibility. And the other question I think I saw Chief Hines was there, but I don't know if he has this information. The names of the streets that have residents issued stickers and how many are given for each street and how many cars per household with stickers. So if it's a matter of they have 6 cars and that's why they need to park on the street, or, you know, if it's a issue with parking on their property.
Rob, do you want to respond to that with the
Well,
information I gave you? Or I can respond a little bit to Monica too. Hi, Monica.
Hi, how are you doing?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Since the
Yeah.
question seemed to be posed to Chief, maybe it's best if you answer the question because Monica did pose it to you. Just
Okay, that's
Just
fine.
saying.
I can do that.
thank you.
I know Monica's situation there, and there's other people on the street that have the same situation as far as, like she said, the steep garages, they're small garages. And we have made exceptions to the rule on that because of the garages being basically unusable from a standpoint. A lot of people have garages that are very small. And if they have a larger type vehicle, once they get the vehicle in the garage, they can't even get out of the car. So I understand the situation there with the garages, and we have issued overnight parking stickers for that reason, and have made that an exception to the rule once we see that the garage is basically unusable for them to park their vehicles in. So does that answer your question, Monica, or?
Well, I'm just wondering why 12 streets are exempt. I didn't get an answer yet to that.
Okay,
And
that.
if my parking, or my husband and I, our parking situation is similar to those people on those 12 streets, if that's why those 12 streets got that exemption, if our situation is the same as theirs, why shouldn't we be exempt? Or everybody in all of Mariemont should pay, for these stickers. Typically, parking stickers are issued when most of the dwellings do not have the capacity to park like 2 vehicles. And that I'm aware of in cities like Chicago. And I know it was said that the research was done about the cost of parking stickers. But I'm feeling like, and I know I sent the email about 3 people, 3 houses on our street have the similar type of situation with us. And then, one narrow driveway that people share, they can't both, use it at the same time. So that's like 6 people that I'm aware of just on our street. So why should we be, because we have it as a necessity, not a convenience, not just a hardship that we have to move cars around. Why should we have to be paying $100? I'm saying if everyone in Mariemont, including those 12 streets, and I thought most of the people at the previous meeting that I went to were from Homewood and Settle. So I thought that's why most of the people that needed these stickers were Homewood and Settle. But I know there's people, I was told, that other streets do, but I don't know what those streets are. I've done a lot of walking during COVID. I haven't seen the situation that we have, a few of us have, it predominantly around the village. So I would like to know the names of each street that has people with parking stickers and how many, cars each home has. If they're getting it for, I don't see why, 6 cars, you should get a sticker. If you only have 2 cars,
Well,
I just,
yeah.
I don't see that. I know you're trying to raise money, so I think you should do it fairly if that's the purpose, which it seems like it is. You're trying to raise money. But in the result of that, it's targeting people. Maybe people want it as a convenience and they're willing to pay $100. That's fine. But some of us, especially we've lived here for 40 years, there's never been a safety issue or any kind of issue that I'm aware of. The only parking on our street that someone who didn't live here was our son visiting from Chicago. You know, it's not like we have all these predominance of people sitting on our streets casing houses, or emergency vehicles not being able to get down the street at between 1 and 6 a.m. You know, I don't know of any instance over 40 years that that's happened.
Okay, as far as the, how the, who decided who the streets were that's going to be exempted, I don't think anybody in this, well, I know nobody in this room had a part in deciding that back in 1967 when that ordinance was put into place. But you know, I think it's a lot of the streets like Maple Street, Chestnut Street, those streets are, you know, they're exempt, and we obviously all know why. They absolutely do not have any off-street parking, so they have to be exempt. But as far as how the streets were decided on, you know, I can't answer that because that was, you know, I mean, I've been here 33 years, but that was before I came. So, you know, I don't know how those were decided. I would imagine the police chief at that time, and I'm sure it was Chief Shanks, I'm sure he had some input into it, but unfortunately, you know, the legend that he is, he's gone, and I can't make a call and talk to him about that. So
more my question is why they're still exempt if that they don't have, if they don't have parking, if the reasoning probably, like you said, was they just don't have the ability, you know, to park elsewhere except on the street overnight. Why?
Okay, guys, it's been four minutes, so I don't know if you want to have a wrap up. Monica, wrap things up here. We have a 3-minute time limit, sorry.
Yes, but I haven't gotten an answer to the questions.
There's going to be other questions, and probably, like I said, during those answers, there'll be a fuller explanation, you know, come out. Monica, could I get you to state your full name, please, and your address?
Yes, Monica Hurley, 3859 Homewood Road.
Thank you. And every other participant that comes in, please state your name and your address as you begin to speak, please.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
So I know Monica's asking for some specific information, which I'm 99% sure none of us have at our fingertips, but that's certainly something we could get for you, Monica, you know, as far as names of streets, how many stickers and so forth and so on. It's just going to take a little bit of time working with Chief to get those actual numbers, but we will get them.
Ms. Rankin, I have those numbers.
Oh, you have them already?
I don't have them right here in front of me.
Okay.
I do have those numbers. I think if I'm understanding Monica right, she wants to know how many stickers are issued street by street. Is that right, Monica?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just because the $100 is so much for a parking sticker, if people want it as a convenience, that's my biggest concern. If people want it as a convenience, that's one thing, but people that do not have that luxury, they have to have it just to be able to park, unless they're parking illegally on their property, like over the sidewalk, on the front lawn, etc. Then I just don't see why the relatively few of us are penalized for that.
And I do want to clarify one thing. We will not allow, well, I can't speak, obviously councils makes that decision, but I think that I can speak for everybody and they can chime in if they want, but I think we're not going to allow people to purchase the stickers, even at whatever the cost would be, just for the sake of convenience. We're not going to issue stickers for the sake of convenience.
Okay, then why are you making money off of? I just think there's either a more equitable way to make it off of parking, if that's how you want to make this money, or find another way to make money that isn't penalizing a few, probably a minority of people in the village.
Well, my suggestion, when we go back months ago when we were talking about this, was the only reason that I threw out the idea of maybe not having the stickers be free anymore wasn't for, I mean, obviously I don't have, I don't make the decision on how much the stickers are going to be if we charge for the stickers, but I did say we've had a lot of people that come in and they try to finagle their way around to the officer to come up with a reason why they need a sticker. And then I get calls from residents saying, why does this person have a sticker? Because obviously they don't need it. They've got room, you know, and they got a sticker last year, but their kid was here and now their kid's gone off to college and they're still parking the car on the street, but the kid's car's gone and they're using, you know, the sticker on one of their other cars and they've got room to put it off the street. And I said, you know, to alleviate people from getting stickers that absolutely don't need them, if they had to pay a fee for the sticker, they would be less likely to try to want the sticker if they don't need it.
Right. But then that brings back the 12 streets. So why are they not required to get stickers? So that's why I think to be equitable, it should be all the streets of the village then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Tony, you got anyone else in there?
Yes, Suzy Weinland would like to speak.
Susie? Okay. Susie, make sure you state your name, please, and your address.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Sure thing.
Okay. Hi, this is Suzy Weinland. I'm at 3812 Indian View Avenue. I wrote a letter to Mayor Brown, council members, and Chief Hines. I've gathered several family signatures from Indian View. And so if you all could please admit that letter in its entirety into the minutes, and also add one more couple that was late in getting their names to me, that if you can add that, that would be Al and Beth Weiner, Weiner, and they're at 3740 Indian View.
That was Al, pardon me, that was Al, you said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
A-L.
A-L?
And Beth.
Beth, thank you.
Sure. So what I was going to do, just for sake of time, is I'm going to read the letter just so those on the count that are listening in can hear it. I think it might provide some ideas as well as sort of cover a few of the things that Monica may have been mentioning too. The letter says, Dear Mayor Brown, council members, and Chief Hines, we, the following residents of Indian View Avenue, are writing to share our feedback and suggestions on the proposed all-village enforcement of the 1967 Parking Code 76.03, as well as the discussion to charge residents a fee for permits. First, Code 76.03 is antiquated. I spoke with Chief Hines, Mayor Brown, and Councilman Rob Bartlett, and there's nobody around today who can explain why it was put in place or why it is stated as it is. The code has been enforced on an as-needed basis for several decades, with officers working with residents as complaints come up. We see no reason to enforce such a code village-wide or require permits on a daily basis on streets where there's no problem and no resident complaint, such as Indian View Avenue. Second, in 1967, most residents had one car. Today, most have two or more due to two-income households and teen drivers. If residents are able to park on an extra car or two on the street without it prohibiting safety vehicles getting down the street and without causing inconvenience to neighbors, we see no issue with continuing to allow that on those streets. Regardless of whether someone has a driveway or a garage, some drives are too short or only one car width. Some garages can barely fit today's sized cars. Having to shuffle cars in the early morning hours for school, work, in bad weather is time consuming and a huge disruption to schedules. Additionally, having to secure a permit each time guests are going to park on such streets overnight is a nuisance to residents, especially if they aren't sure until that night that their guest is going to stay. Third, residents on streets without parking complaints and issues should not be penalized because a few streets with problems do need some regulations. For streets with ongoing year-over-year parking complaints and issues such as Homewood and Settle, where very narrow streets cause traffic flow and safety vehicle access issues, where parking on only one side is permitted, where neighbors are not being considerate in how many cars or in what capacity they park in front of someone else's house, and where large trucks and business vehicles block or partially block traffic flow and or driveways, there should be a new code put into effect based on discussion and agreement among those streets residents, the police department, and the village. Trying for decades to figure out how to make an existing code work on problematic streets has not worked, and it's time for a new code that addresses the current day issues. I'm going to try to summarize, but Monica spent way more than time than I did, so hopefully I can finish this up. We do not agree with potentially charging residents up to $100 per car for parking permits, nor do we agree with the potential intent to use part of it or all of it for a fund to help pay the village's portion of parking pads behind rented townhomes off Murray Plainville Old Town Square. We collectively agree that funding for such parking spaces should be the responsibility of the landlords and tenants, perhaps an HOA or renters association, and not the responsibility of those who chose to purchase homes and pay mortgages and higher taxes in other areas of the village. It was suggested also by the chief, or maybe it was council, during a recent parking discussion that village-wide permits might allow nighttime patrol officers to quickly access whether a vehicle belonged to a resident or could potentially be an outsider canvassing. And as I explained in here, after my discussion with Chief Hines, it looks like most people bike or walk in, and that really would not be a useful purpose. Plus our patrol officers already are booked all night, and to drive up and down every single street all night would not be feasible. A couple of suggestions for streets with problems.
Suzy, it's 4 minutes, so let's wrap it up.
All right,
Sorry.
They might consider painting parking stripes on the street perpendicular from the curb. Talk to each homeowner about their cars and what really needs to be on the street on those problematic streets. Continue to provide free parking permits on the streets where permits are necessary at a rate of one per household per year, unless deemed extenuating, such as in Monica's case where there's no driveway or more than 2 cars. And make them hangers so they can easily be switched from one car to one car if necessary each year. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzy.
I don't know if anybody mentioned this previously, but a comprehensive village parking assessment, which includes the overnight parking regulations, is currently in the Public Works Committee. So many of the things you bring up, Suzy, I don't know if that got mentioned when the last caller was on, but that is in committee.
It's a big fish to fry.
All right, Tony, anyone else?
Yes, Susan would like to speak now. Go ahead, Susan.
Here. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Susan Brabenec Page. I'm 6636 Elm Street. And first, I want to thank you, Mayor Brown and Council, for implementing the video conferencing for the council meeting. You took this based on some requests and feedback and your experience that the community participation and governance is really crucial to the functioning of the village, so thank you. I'm here tonight to voice my opposition to the proposed parking fee, to the amendment to Ordinance Chapter 79, and my opposition to a parking incentive program that encourages and pays landlords to pave over private green space. I'll elaborate on those points. The council needs to reject the proposed amendment because it inequitably impacts an unrepresented portion of the village. In his letter published this week on Nextdoor, Mr. Bartlett refers to the equitable nature of the parking rules enforcement, citing and the roughly equal split between parking warnings issued on both sides of Wooster. The issue, however, isn't equitable enforcement, but rather the unequitable impact of the parking sticker fees. The impact is greater on the north side of Wooster due to higher population density and fewer available spaces on or off the street. This is exemplified in the current sticker program, where 2/3 of the stickers were issued to residents of 2 streets in the village, both on the north side of Wooster. Significantly, those 2 streets, Homewood and Settle, are part of a district which last had district representative in Troy Hawkins in 2018. No council member currently lives within or near the district where 66% of parking sticker needs are concentrated and where the parking fee will have its greatest impact on residents. I've been told that the at-large council replaced district representation. This structure is ineffective as it does not provide adequate voice to large sections of the village population. The proposed parking fee derives directly from this culture and this structure. Given the ongoing nature of the fee, its disproportionate impact on the select streets, and the absence of district representation, the amendment should be rejected. Regarding the incentive program, any incentive program created by the village should not be granting money to landlords to pave over private space parking pads. A parking incentive program to be partially funded by the revenue from the parking sticker fee has been proposed by council and Mayor Brown. In that program, it's been described to me, as it's described to me, landlords could apply for and receive grants to pave over private space on their property to create parking pads for tenants. Now, while I applaud the efforts to creatively solve parking problems within the village should not be encouraging, much less paying, landlords to pave over private space along village residential areas. The argument for adding fees to the
3 minutes, Susan, so wrap it up.
do just that, thank you.
Okay.
The argument for adding the fees to the parking sticker program is to increase village revenue, per Mr. Bartlett. Taking those funds from that increased revenue and giving it to landlords who typically do not reside in the village and often have created resistance to village improvements, such as the recent school levies, if you might remember, is both wrong and severely misguided. The private space that's not already paved is often green space. Much of Mariemont's charm derives from that green space. Paying landlords to create more concrete and blacktop is inconsistent with maintaining Mariemont's charm, especially within the historic district. So do we really want to pave over Paradise and put up a parking lot? My family and I do not want to do that. Thanks so much.
Good
I think
reference.
somebody made a song out of that.
Somebody should. Somebody should.
Susan, one quick thing. If that was a statement that you were reading, could you please email that to Joni at the office or to me?
Absolutely. I'll send it to all of you. I was understanding that deadline was the 27th, so I'll make sure that's in the email to you.
Well, we just want to make sure that we get it into the minutes as you read it to us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
All right, Tony, anyone else?
Nobody else currently has their hand up, so looks like that's it.
Well, I would think this went reasonably well. I mean, considering.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I thought we were going to be able to see them though. I guess not.
They
Baby
would have,
steps, Bill.
they would have had to have their video on. That's the person's prerogative.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. I think that went reasonably well. Do we have any comments about the remarks here tonight? No?
I mean, we have the feedback and now we just need to do something with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Susan has requested to speak again. What do you guys think? Bill?
No, I'm
Susan
sorry.
has requested to speak again.
No, if she has something additional to say, add it on to her statement, and email it to us. We're going to move on.
And so again, I think the concept is this is permission to address council and you've got 3 minutes to do it. I mean, this is not, because we've had problems in the past when we were actually not virtual, but in the room together, where if you waive that 3-minute rule, we could be here for hours, going back and forth on this thing. I will say this, that I think we need to do a little bit more homework on this whole parking issue. And I'd like to see a holistic review of this process. I think last time we talked about, trying to get a hold of the parking study that Columbia Township did a few years back that they paid somebody to do, that we can take a look to see what framework they applied to it, and then potentially try to figure out what we can do within the village. Interesting enough, while the permission to address council, I'm not sure if you guys are watching your emails or not, but we received an email from somebody on Homewood, or not on Homewood, but on Indian View, who believes that we should be charging $500 per car for the parking stickers. So, I mean, there's different opinions out there. And I think one of the things that no one has addressed so far is there is an aesthetic effect of parking. I think there is a concept that there are some in the village who don't believe that there should be any parking on the streets. I'm not sure that's reasonable, but it's something that, there are people who believe that. And we live in a community where, we try to stress the idea of streets with trees, not cars type thing. But I don't know that's doable completely in all the villages, because we've had streets that have been annexed into Mariemont over the time that were not built the same way as other streets in Mariemont.
Right.
So I think, again, we need to probably take a step back and answer some of these questions, And Rob, I'm not sure if you understand, if you have an answer on this, why 12 streets are exempt. Have you been able to figure that out so far?
Well, again, I think it goes back to, there is a reason, and when Suzy brought this up, it's her, we did talk about this, that there is a reason for this being set up, and that is, and we saw this with Homewood. I want to go back also to June 25th, 2019. We had a special meeting of council to talk about parking on Homewood primarily, but several people were there as well. And we had the question of, do you want to have the street be no stickers, just park on the street, no stickers, become one of the 12? And over 2/3 of the people said, no, we want to keep it the way it is. We want to leave it because it's very hard to find parking on the street. And so, again, the reason it was created in the first place was people can't find spots in the streets. If you go around the places, if you look at the streets that are listed, the 12 streets that are listed. The other side to that, though, is if you do make it totally no stickers, then anybody can park there. It doesn't matter if they have a driveway and a garage or whatever. They can go ahead and park in the street if they want to. And then it becomes harder for people who do need it to find a spot. That was the feedback we all got clearly back in on June 25th of 2019 about that. So we left it as it is for Homewood.
Right.
Now,
Yeah,
and the other thing is, and we didn't talk about $100 because we were talking about that at the time because we weren't facing the financial situation that we are right now. So those are two separate topics. I totally get that. But there is a process, and I agree with you, Joe. I think it's interesting, different streets. I struggle with, how do we create a rule that applies for everybody? Because I think we need to be fair to everybody. I don't think we can have a rule that applies to only certain people and not others. But there are streets that have more challenges than others. And so I think we need to figure out how to help people address those challenges in a way that gets to the root cause, but does it in a way that is fair for everybody involved in some, because again, the feedback we've gotten in the past as well is you're treating us differently than other people, other parts of Mariemont. And so we want to be fair and consistent with everybody, but I think we need to, the challenge is how to do that. So.
Right. Listen, guys, I don't think, obviously we're not going to iron out all the particulars and the details here tonight. I really think, Rob, this should probably go back into your committee. I mean, it probably still is in your committee, and you should re-examine this. And as Joe said, do a little homework.
No. It's not. I'm not doing the homework. Let's be really clear. This subject is already in Public Works. This topic of looking at parking. So I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine with, let's go ahead and take the fee discussion and move it. We've already tabled it. Let's continue to leave it off to the side. While we address the whole other part of the other thing. But let's be really, really clear. This topic, as Avia said earlier, is already in the Public Works.
Yeah, but for clarification, I think, Bill, you were just referring to specifically the fee aspect of it.
The fee aspect of it. Yeah. I mean, the parking aspect of it. Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's an even larger issue that needs to, details of which need to be worked out. And if that is in Public Works, that's what we should do, obviously.
Yeah. And we will do.
All I'm saying is we're not going to work it out right here tonight.
Right. So, and I agree with you. But I would prefer, so here's what I would prefer. I would propose is we want to go ahead and take the fee thing off the table. That's fine. And I would also then at the same time take the incentive thing off the table as well until the Public Works Committee has had a chance to do their work.
Yeah.
So
can I ask a quick question, Kelly? Is there a chance we can have a Public Works meeting on this in the next 30 days?
Yes, there's a good possibility with that. Yeah.
So should we make that our goal then?
Sure. Yeah, I'll get some times and stuff. We're not going to do that this 5 minutes, but I'll get some.
Okay. No, I said 30 days. I didn't ask for tomorrow.
5 minutes, Joe, get ready.
Hey, hold up. We're here 1 minute, guys.
So we're taking off the incentive program.
We're taking off the incentive program, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Again, it doesn't make sense to go forward with that until the work has been done by Public Works.
Exactly. Yes.
Same thing with the fee. Same thing with the fee. Take the fee off until Public Works has done their work.
We're taking the fee off.
Do we need to do an amendment to the ordinance?
Well, it's been tabled, so we just, Ed, what do we need to do?
Yeah, somebody's got to move to table the ordinance, but I think that was done last time.
It's already been tabled.
It's already been tabled, so keep it tabled, that's all.
Just leave it that way.
Just leave
Right.
it purgatory.
Yeah, for now.
Yes. Yeah, so we're not tabling the incentive program, right? We're just taking it off.
Well, in theory, the incentive program is in the finance committee and we haven't moved it out yet. So it's still sitting in the finance committee, which it can remain. It's just going to go inactive. Or do we just want to remove it from the agenda at this point?
I would take it out until Public Works is done, then we can add it back in.
Okay, and I think we need to have council say that's okay, that, we're removing that item from the finance committee list of projects. Correct, Ed?
Show of
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was on the finance committee. Yeah, just say, Bill, you've got the authority to do it with a straw vote from everybody. Say, does everyone agree that we should remove the incentive program for creating parking on private property from the finance committee? And if everybody agrees to that, take it away.
All right, does everybody agree? Show of hands.
Yep.
Okay, we're all good.
Okay.
We're all good. All right, we're moving on. We're gonna motion here. Well, has everybody reviewed the bills? We all good with the bills?
I have a couple questions. They're small though.
Okay.
Hang on, it's on my right. I lost my page. Hold on. I was flipping through other things. I do have a question with regard to Eli sent an email. I assume Eli's not on this call, but she sent an email last week or the week before asking, hey, who's interested in a SharePoint site? Which I think is if people are still using a SharePoint site the way I did when I was working at Children's, it is a uniquely terrible idea for a place that has sunshine laws. So unless it's just the platform on which our website will be built on, we should not be paying for a SharePoint site to be set up. Like if it's an information file sharing thing, we need to stay very far away from that as a council, and we don't need to pay for it if we're not going to use it. Unless it's like free with whatever else we're getting. And that's a pretty intense bill.
It's not an itemized listing on tonight's bills though, correct?
Well, I mean, it says $9,770, which I recognize is the Office 365 migration, but it also specifically says and SharePoint setup. So if the SharePoint setup is over and above just what we're using to host our normal website on, we don't want it and we shouldn't pay for it because it's not inexpensive unless it's somehow now suddenly a package, but I don't think it is.
Okay. I'll get with Eli to find out how it's, if it's priced as a package, if it can be separated out, if we have something we don't really want, you're right, we shouldn't be paying for it.
Yeah, for this kind of group, I mean, for like a, project management group, it's awesome, but this, no.
I would tend to agree with you, Maggie, unless we're all going to go through SharePoint training and understand what we're going to put out there and not put out there. It's probably a waste of time.
Well, and you don't want to collaborate on documents because only two of us could ever be able to collaborate without breaking the law.
Right.
Is the intent that ruins the whole idea of collaboration on a document. Okay.
I agree.
So my comment.
I'll get the gist of it, and if it can be separated out, if we don't want it, we don't want it. We don't want to pay.
Yeah, or I mean, if she wants to call me, like if she's got, she's always got things figured out. So I hate to even question it, but I feel like I need to say something so that I don't learn later that I should have. So she probably has it all figured out, and if she wants to call me and set me straight, that is completely fine.
I'd like to hear the answer as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because we paid for with the contract with eGov Link, they gave us actually extra space. So it was supposed to be like 3 or 4 gig and they bumped it up to like 5 or 6. And so there should be plenty of space on there for the documents that we're currently storing.
Right. And the platform is more like, so that like, you could put something out there instead of emailing it to a committee, and then like I could go in and change it, and then Marcy could go in and change it, and then Avia could go in and change it, which we don't want to do outside of a meeting ever. So that's okay. So second question is with regard to the tree removal and pruning. It's very straightforward. I have no problem with this, but did we do any planting? Because this is tis the season for tree planting, and I'm seeing removal and pruning, which is great and needed to happen. But did we plant anything?
Yes, last week on Maple Street and I think Oak Street, a number of maple trees were planted.
Like
Okay.
25.
And also, I think some of the cherry trees that died were replaced.
Great.
And that
Okay.
was in the maple and oak area.
So we just haven't seen the bill. We haven't haven't seen the bill for that yet then, huh?
Well, MPF
If it's not Davy, then it's, you know,
footed part of the bill for that, so it's,
okay.
I'm assuming that's our portion. It's down. I mean, we were in for some of it, but MPF, of course, was paying for some of it as well. All right. So do I have a motion and a second to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second,
All right, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
aye,
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, let's pay the bills. All right, it looks like we have one committee report.
Correct, from the Public Works and Services Committee regarding waste collection bid review and recommendation. The Public Works and Service Committee met on Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 at 4:45 p.m. to discuss the bids received for the collection of waste and recycling for the village. In attendance were the committee chairperson, Kelly Rankin, committee member Rob Bartlett, committee member Avia Graves, and Mayor Brown. The topic of discussion was the bids received for waste collection service for calendar year 2021. Rumpke was the single provider to submit a bid. Attached is the bid submitted by Rumpke for the options requested to be bid on. The goal of the meeting was to recommend the option best suited for the needs of the village of Mariemont. As per the attached, the key difference in the bids is the option to move solid waste collection to the curb and eliminate rear of the house pickup. The cost savings for this option would be $42,750. Also note that the curbside pickup option requires the contractor to provide the waste cans in addition to the recycling cans currently provided. This will allow for a better aesthetics since all the receptacles will look alike and eliminate a hodgepodge look that may result if residents provide their own can. In order to be fiscally responsible to the village, the committee recommends the village accept the bid for option number 2 and enter into contract with Rumpke for such services. Respectively submitted, and I assume signed by Kelly Rankin, Chairman, Rob Bartlett, and Avia Graves.
Mhm.
All right, you've heard the report. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the report?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all right, any just, who had the second? Maggie. All right, any discussion on this?
well,
I just have a question.
Sure.
What would happen to the receptacles we currently have?
well, you own them. Right?
Well, except for the recycling one. The recycling one's still going to stay, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are Rumpke provided.
Okay,
So you just get Rumpke provided solid waste cans.
They'd be the brown ones. You know, some people in the village already have them, and I think they're
Right.
65 gallon.
That's what they'll be.
Yeah. And they're compatible with the back. The important key is they're compatible with the back of the truck, so that the guy only has to wheel the thing up to the back of the truck, it hooks and it dumps it into the back, kind of a thing.
so if
I
you
do-
already have one, you don't need to get another one, if you already have one that's compliant?
I would think so, if it's compatible with the truck. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
If it's a Rumpke provided container, 65 gallon, yeah, you don't need to get anything new.
Okay,
I
just
would-
clarifying.
Okay, thanks, Marcy.
I know there's been over the years, some contention, about this behind the house, wheeling it to the street type of a thing. I really think that, I think we're at the point where we really have to give serious consideration, to taking this step. I know it's going to be a problem for a few residents. I think I stated this last week, that there's bound to be a couple of, situations where older people may have difficulty wheeling it down or whatever it is. But I think, that's where neighbors can, some type of a neighbor kind of a thing, the Boy Scouts or something could be worked out.
For students who need service hours.
Students that need service hours. What we're really talking about here is simply wheeling it, down your driveway to the street. So many other
With
communities
your recycling.
do it this way. Along with your recycling, you're going to wheel your recycling down there to begin with. So
There was a lot of discussion, in the Public Works Committee last week when we met on this. So I mean, I think a lot of consideration went into it for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I do.
This wasn't shooting from the hip.
Right.
So going forward then, because I know that one of our troubles with the bidding has been that Rumpke's our only willing bidder because no one else will go behind the house anyway. So does this set us up for like Waste Management or somebody else to come in and bid next time because we at least have something they're willing to bid on?
Well, the way the bid request was presented, Maggie, it was and or.
Okay.
That so that it did give other companies the opportunity. I specifically said or for the curbside pickup for the purpose of getting. And we had Republic send us a letter that they respectfully declined to provide a bid.
I no clue why. Just
the guy gave us somewhat of an explanation, about not, they weren't able to be competitive because they don't have a local dump and, they have to make arrangements and there's lots of stuff. But I mean, a better answer though, Maggie, is that yes, going down the road, this does put us in a position. Okay, this year they didn't want to bid, but who knows?
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Because I mean, I know, I see suddenly, it never happened before. I've been here most of my life and suddenly I'm seeing other companies' trucks in other neighborhoods. So maybe. Okay.
All right. So on roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Ms. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, we'll accept that report.
So next step then is, Ed, I believe you drop a resolution then, right? Because this is an expenditure?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'll get done tonight.
Yeah, that'd be great. So we'll have 3 meetings then to vote on it. We'll have the 2 in November, 1 in December. Because it's a resolution, we don't have to wait the
And
30
then it's effective. Yep.
Yep.
So
So we don't need to do an emergency. So we're
Right.
good. Okay.
Kelly, is it a 1-year contract?
it's a 1-year contract with an option to renew I don't have the increase amount right on the top of my head, but last year it was a 3% increase. So I will look that up, Marcy, and get that to you.
Whose option is?
Can I ask a question here? Is there some way that we can get this information out to residents so we're not waiting until the 3rd reading when we get the groundswell of opposition to the thing? Because my understanding is we're running out of meetings before the end of the year. So is there any way we can communicate this sooner rather than later and let everybody know that a change is being proposed? So hopefully if somebody disagrees with it, we hear it during the 1st or 2nd reading and not wait to the 3rd and have to, in essence, table it.
Well, we could put it out on the website.
All right, so who's going to take the lead on that?
And
I'll
I think we should do next door.
Huh? What'd you say?
I think we should do next door too, because Joni could push that out.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't like Nextdoor as a platform for the village.
That's all we have. We don't do anything else.
We need to get a letter out to get people to sign up for the website for the emails. I mean, I know Allison has been sending stuff out and asking people, but I think we just need to do a mass mailing to people and tell them that the official means of getting information to the village is via the website.
But we don't have their email addresses. So how do you send a mass email?
No, a mail.
We have
Mail.
Okay.
We got the addresses from Deanna and we mail everybody and say,
What?
how to move forward, we'll get information.
We can do it with the next mayor's bulletin.
It's already on the website, under proposed legislation.
Yeah,
So-
it's the part where we had to lead them to the website.
Yeah, you kind of, right.
That's the missing picture piece here.
Yeah.
Like your
Okay,
average
so
household-
again, to communicate this, which I would believe needs to be communicated in the next week or so, probably the next week. So if we're going to hear feedback, we should hear it by the next meeting, is we're going to use the email addresses that we already collected at the village level. We're going to use Nextdoor, even though, it's somewhat of a dumpster fire at times. But I mean, it's still a means of touching people that may not have signed up. Any other means that we can think of that we can do to try to drive this? I mean, what I heard is one of the complaints were about the parking fee was they didn't know about it until the town crier came out.
Right.
And
Well, you know, there's always word of mouth.
Another way that we can do it is,
Will there be town crier
we can
video?
drive it through the organization, so we can send out a letter, and I'd be happy to write it, and I've been meaning to do it anyway, to MPPG, to Mary Elders, to every, community church. I mean, just
Yeah.
and ask them to forward it to their members.
I just think this is another case where it's, the leaf collection, the pool, just, we keep running up against this lack of a strategic communication plan and system. And I think we need to, COVID hit us and now people aren't out and about the way they were. And then we have a lot going on that we're having to do that's sort of structural to manage COVID and the impending doom that it's creating. And we need a good communication system.
Yep, we do.
So I think
No
that
argument here.
committee or committee of the whole or something, it needed to do that years ago. It needed to do it again before COVID, but we didn't know. Now it really does. We just have to do something. This isn't good enough.
I think there'll be a town crier between now and the end of the year, will there not?
Yeah, there'll be one in, but the deadline's, Susie just texted me, the deadline's 4 weeks before the print date. The print date is usually, it's before the first weekend, because they got to print it, then they got to sit there and stack it and everything, so.
Well, are we going to make it or not?
We're not going to make the November one
Not
because the
November.
articles had to be in 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
All right, we'll make the December one, right?
Yeah,
But that gets us into the third reading again.
Yeah.
I'd like to do this as soon as possible so we can address if there are people that disagree with it as soon as possible and not wait until, the last meeting of the year where we don't have time to, in essence, deal with it.
So I think I agree with Joe. And I think the thing is, Maggie, to your point, the solution is we got to get people to sign up for the blast that comes from Joni and Allison.
Absolutely.
We have to drive them to the website and educate them about what's available and tell them this will be our primary means of reaching out to the community and sharing stuff with you.
Everybody that's already on the email will be getting this already.
Right, but that's
already.
minority.
But if we look at historically, how has that worked for us? How has that worked for us with this parking situation?
Well, we need to drive more people to the email list. Obviously that's the case.
Any idea how many people we have signed up already on the email?
Over 250.
Okay,
and we're talking about what, 1,400 households?
For the 1,400 households,
we got a ways to go. Yeah.
1,400 households that are on the garbage list, right? That are going to be having the garbage picked up. So it's even bigger than that for the total village.
So do we think about a flyer drop? Because that's what we did with the pool.
It seems like a flyer drop is your best means.
But again, in the flyer drop, I think we really, really ought to encourage people to sign up to get on the email list, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
make it clear in the fire drop, we're not going to do this again.
Yeah.
If you want to be informed about village activities, please register your email.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So does somebody want to draft a flyer and then, we can recruit a bunch of people to drop them. So we kind of do with the pool to get that information out.
You got it, Kelly?
Yeah.
Suzy Weinland, she just raised her hand. She might have some information you want to hear her out.
She said November the 10th is the deadline for December publishing. So just FYI, she texted me as well for that, just to let us all know November 10th is
There she
deadline.
is.
All right, Suzy, go ahead.
Hi, guys. I just thought it'd be easier. Yeah, I'm actually literally editing the November Town Crier right now. And if you want to do a drop flyer in it that our couriers can stuff, we would have to have it by, here, let me pull my calendar up. Like if you really want to turn it around, and I can send you who to drop it to because we have a new distribution coordinator, but we're delivering the weekend of November 7th and 8th this time. And so it would have to be in her hands by Wednesday, November 4th.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can get it in the December Town Crier by dropping it by, sorry, I'm looking here, by December 2nd. And we do not have a January issue.
Okay. Hey, Susie, I'll talk with you about getting it in that November 4th.
Okay, give me a.
Hey, Susie, Ms.
Yeah.
Marcy, so but we could also just do a flyer for November and then put a blurb, like a written paragraph in for November or for December too, correct?
Yes, you could.
And the meeting notes will be in the December one also.
Yeah, I find the problem though is not everybody reads all of them. And I try to put as much as we can fit and not summarize. But we could in the December one and even in November probably put a square, if you will, with just, something like to send them to your website, for instance.
Or
And
to
then-
sign up, or how to sign up for the communications emails.
Yeah. I mean, we try to put that in everything at the top of the minutes. It does kind of say that, but again, I don't know that everybody reads that.
We really, really, really got to push that.
So you are saying that we could still get a little tiny paragraph in print in the November town crier in addition
I would
to
have
the
to
flyer?
Okay, let's put it this way. I am literally editing and handing it over to Matt tomorrow. So if you send me something tomorrow, I can probably get it in there if it's a very small little, like, attention, sign up, here's why, and that's it. But I would say that if you want anything for like older people to sign and drop off or mail in, or I don't know how you're wanting to do it. If you want a flyer, that you can get to me and I can send whoever is in charge of all this, Kelly or whoever, I can send you this, but it's going to be November 4th is for the flyer.
Okay, so I would recommend that we go with the flyer for November and put a follow-up with a blurb in December.
How about, what if we just put the committee report in as in the crier?
If you're okay with me basically cutting the regular council minutes down and putting that in its stead, and then whatever's left over council minutes will fit, then I can do that. Yeah.
I mean, the committee report really lays it out.
Yeah.
Well,
I would take a lot of that verbiage out. I mean, you want to make this as
agree,
simple as possible. So, if somebody glances at that flyer, they know exactly what we're talking about doing.
Agree. Or a little box, like I said, where it just says really in bold, get on our sign up if you want to know what's going on. Here's where you email.
We're talking about two different things here. We're talking about encouraging people to sign up to get emails and then also to communicate to them the plans with the trash contract.
I think the plans to change the trash is the reason why they want to sign up as soon as possible so they can get all the information as it comes out.
Right, but
This is a perfect opportunity to encourage them, and for a real reason to get the information and get the feedback back to us as quick as possible. Because we don't have the luxury of waiting till that third reading and then, deciding to table it because we have to sign some contract before the end of the year.
Well, and you bring up a really interesting point here, Joe. So if we go ahead and sign the contract or we vote for this on the third Monday in December, we have to communicate to residents starting January, whatever, the first week of January, they got to take their garbage to the front.
I think that is worth putting something on people's doorsteps, even if we walk it around, because the consequences of that is not good. Because if you think about it, it's like right after Christmas, everybody's got all their boxes. And if they had people over, I mean, oh my gosh, that's just not going to be good PR for us ever making a decision again.
to do, Maggie, to put a flyer on their
Yeah,
door?
to put a flyer on their door saying at some point before, after we sign the contract and before they would miss their first pickup, they need to be clearly notified in a way that you cannot miss that their trash needs to go out.
So you're talking about that last 2 weeks in December.
Yep. Yep. You got to, again, if we pass this on the third reading, that gives us 2 weeks to get the word out to say, okay, starting the first one in January, you got to take it, garbage has to go to the curb too.
Yeah, I think that's a good time to put the reminder out there, because it's like it's coming up, folks, and here it is. And we're telling
It
you.
is even worth our money to buy like a double the normal size, like yard sign on one of those cheapo websites that says, hey, now you take your trash, like at the beginning and the end of where people come in on Wooster or something, just because you can't read the little ones people stick there, but you could read a double-sized one that says trash pickup is this date at the front of your house. And we can put it up for 1 week and then take it down. I know it's not pretty.
Well, let me understand something here, though. We're going to be delivering cans to the people's houses, because I just went through this trash change down at my condo, and we knew like 2 weeks beforehand, because Rumpke came out and delivered new cans to everybody. So, we can put a flyer on top of the can when it gets delivered, effective this date.
They won't be
Well,
delivering one in my house.
Okay,
No,
but
no,
they'll have to figure that out somehow about which
They're gonna be-
houses.
Joe, they're going to be
Oh.
going through the neighborhood anyway, delivering these cans. I mean,
Right.
that's a great idea. Put a flyer on top of the can, tape it to the can or something, or the guy delivering the can can stick it in the door, kind of a thing. And they can basically, they're going up and down the street. They could drop it there.
I
mean,
know.
If you recall in the meeting, Dean said he would have that communication with the residents. So
Oh,
I'll
he did.
talk to him about doing something from Rumpke's perspective too.
All right, so again, let's make sure we're all on the same page by next meeting about what the communication is going to be and how the implementation is going to be. So talk to Gene from Rumpke and just see what the plan is. Which states would they go out and drop cans and just to make sure we hit the ground running in the first of the year with
Yeah,
whatever setup we got.
Yeah, I agree that we need to do that, but I do think it would be good if they hear, Susie's texting me here too, if they hear from us first. Hearing from Rumpke for the first time, oh, we're
I
going to
agree.
do this, I
No,
think
let's get
we have to
something
do-
in a November 4th issue.
Well, but it hasn't been decided yet by that point, right? We haven't voted yet.
Well, damned if we do and damned if we don't, right?
Right,
We
so
vote
let's
first.
not solve it here. I agree with Joe. So we've identified an issue. Let's come to the next meeting. Let's have a proposal
That's
about
my
it.
ideas.
You talk to Rumpke, Kelly, and you help find out what they're going to do. Come back and let's lay out what the plan is then.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Oh, one quick thing. We want, Maggie, as I spoke to you, I think a little bit earlier about this, we want to put in rules and law. Eli's been talking to me, about some type of email protection and retention
Policy.
policy.
Yep.
So I'd like to get that over into your committee.
What does she want to call it? Sorry, you cut out.
Well, it was, protection, retention.
It's
Oh,
records-
I know what she's talking about. Never mind. Okay. Yep.
It's records retention. It's records retention stuff.
Well, there's some protection in there too, I believe.
Yeah, it was with
Yeah.
Rob and I talked about this with regard to people logging on to a Mariemont system rather than using their Gmail or whatever else.
Yeah.
For council communication.
All right. Moving on to miscellaneous. Again, trick or treat will, it's still on and it will be Saturday night, October the 31st, 6 to 8. As we have been saying, we've got CDC guidelines on our website for those who are comfortable, semi-comfortable. It's sort of laid out. Those who are not comfortable, obviously don't send your kids out and keep your lights off and no one will come to your door. Those who are sending out kids, obviously a little common sense here. Follow the guidelines and hopefully it'll be a good night.
Here, we're gonna put something, I think we should put something on the website too,
Yeah.
that box that comes up, well, that says, leave your lights off and reminding people, if people's lights are off, please don't go up to their door,
And while you're at it, put the hours, because 6 to 8 or whatever it is.
Yeah, 6 to 8. 6 to 8 are the hours.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking right now at the website, we don't have it included in that email right now. So I'm not email, but the box that comes up when you first log in, so,
Well, we'll update it.
yeah.
All right, leaf pickup began today. And as John had explained to us, leaf pickup this season is going to be a little,
Goofy?
well, it's just going to be spaced out a little bit more because I believe we're only going to be able to run 2 trucks, not 3, because we don't want to expose our crews, to what they call the Minutemen, the sort of a casual labor that's hired during this time of the year that assists our guys during leaf pickup. So, like I said, we are going to be around. We are going to pick up leaves. It's just going to be a little bit slower than it's been in the past year, and primarily that's because of the virus. So,
Yep.
I know. I've already gotten some emails from people thinking that we weren't doing it this year. but that's not true. In fact, we are doing it. They started today and both trucks were out today.
Mhm.
The village offices will be closed Thursday and Friday, November the 26th and 7th in observance of Thanksgiving. That's very nice. Yes, yes. The permanent improvement meeting will be Monday, December the 21st at 5:30.
So Joni, could you send something out to the department heads to get their requests together, by early December?
And ask again, remember, I think Tony, like last year, we wanted to have a 5-year projection, ideal, just rough. The next year, be more exact. The other 4 years, just give us visibility to any big things that might be coming so we can try to plan around that kind of stuff.
All right, right, good idea.
And of course, our last council meeting also is on December the 21st. It will follow the permanent improvement meeting at 6:30. That'll be our last meeting of the year. All right, Tony, resolutions. Sounds like we got a bunch.
Hey,
All
can I
right.
just ask a quick question of Kelly before we move on? Sorry, Kelly. I saw the guys working on Center Street today collecting leaves, and they were raking things to the curb. And I was just wondering if you could give us a couple sentences about how we can make it easiest for them. I know they're not supposed to be in the street. They're supposed to be at the curb.
Now, when you say guys, what guys are you referring to?
Our maintenance.
Our
people.
guys. Okay. Rephrase your question, please.
Well, they were at my neighbors. They were actually using rakes to get things closest to the curb so they could then suck them up. So I'm asking if you can give us a couple sentences about what we can do as residents to facilitate the process to make it as easy as possible for them.
Not being real familiar with the equipment they use, I would want to touch base with John before I did that, because he knows the equipment obviously way more than I do, but I'd be happy to check with him.
Well, listen, I mean, obviously, it's not that complicated. Rake them up to the edge, to the curb, up to the edge of the street, and it's usually, instead of having it like in one gigantic pile, if you can have sort of an elongated pile along there, because they run the truck very slowly. They've got that gigantic vacuum tube that comes down. Guys, rake it along, they kind of, so they don't have to stop, they keep moving. I would think that, at least that's what I've seen, that works the best.
And it needs to stop raining.
Well, they can rake them up. Yeah, they can rake them up wet.
It's
Suck 'em
so
up wet.
hard on that equipment.
We would just ask, to please don't rake them into the street. They in certain areas, they get into catch basins. They can clog a catch basin, which leads to the wastewater, kind of a thing. And then that's a maintenance, and it can be, a slippery hazard in the street.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I think it's great to help too, because the pile's been there for a week or so. Leaves go around, and so they don't always stay as well in the pile. So I think sometimes you come along just trying to get the one, blown away a little bit.
Right. Well, you just have to just have to do what you can do. All right, resolutions, Tony.
All right, before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Mariemont Warriors football team. They've won 3 playoff games already, and they got their 4th game this Saturday.
Yay! Shout out
Warriors.
Warriors.
All right.
Warriors.
All right, here we go. Resolutions to reappoint Peter Wren as a member of the Architectural Review Board for the calendar years 2021 and 2022.
All right, that's the second reading. Any discussion?
Oh,
Nope. We good?
good.
I'm going to put some together here to reappoint Eric Marsland, Dave Wurtenberger, Ruth Varner, and Carrie Gray as members of the Parks Advisory Board for the calendar years of 2021, and to reappoint Mary Tenzing as a member of the Parks Advisory Board for the calendar years of 2021 and 2022.
All right, that's the second reading. Is there any comments, any discussion?
Nope.
Nope. All right, we'll have the third reading next
Hold
meeting.
on. I've got one question here.
Okay.
Aren't these supposed to be 2-year appointments per the code of ordinances?
They're staggering them to get them back. So right before you came back, Joe, we had a meeting because we had replaced people had retired and fallen off and come back on. And when we read the ordinance, there's supposed to be like half of them, they're not all supposed to be replaced in the same year, essentially. And so what we decided to do was mess with the term lengths this first go around of reappointing people and appointing people, to get them back to where they're about half and half, even number of people on the board, but like if there's 7, then 4 in one year and 3 are in a different year. So that's why you're seeing these term, like certain people are doing 2-year terms and certain are just doing 1 more year to get it staggered again. And then we'll go for
Okay, got it. I only asked the question. All right, cool.
All right, as I said, that was the second reading. We'll have the third reading next council. All right, Steve Spooner, I believe is next.
Yes, to reappoint Steve Spooner, Andrew Sager, Jason Brown Knight, Chris White, and Mark Glassmeyer as members of the South 80 Trails, Gardens, and Park Advisory Board for the calendar year of 2021.
All right, that's the first reading. We'll have second reading next.
Real quick question on that one, Bill.
Sure.
Chris White doesn't live in the village anymore.
Okay.
And I talked to Steve Spooner about this, and he is proposing that John Morgan and John Fakes be appointed
Okay.
to the board.
All
Apparently they do a lot of work down there right now.
John, that's John Morgan. And what was the other name, Joe?
John Fakes,
John Fakes. Could you spell that?
Fakes.
Okay. All
So
right.
is Chris not coming back on then?
I'm sorry, who?
Is Chris not coming back on then?
Chris is living in Terrace Park now.
Yeah, I know, but is he still working down there at all? I mean,
Yeah, he hasn't been around. I mean, so
Okay, so we're going to take those 2 off.
they take Chris White off and they add John Morgan and John Fakes on.
Okay.
do you have a set number of people that are allowed to be on that board? I don't remember. I know some have set numbers and some don't.
I think it's 9. I'll go look, but it's more than, what we have. The number of people eligible is more than what we have right now.
Okay, so you're not.
Good.
Maggie, if you remember Steve Spooner, we talked to Steve Spooner, we traded emails with him, and he actually said he was fine with shrinking the size of the board.
Mm-hmm.
So to not have 9, like Joe, you're saying. So we had reached out to him when we were working on the language around the South 80 committee, and that was some of the feedback he provided.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I thought we said like 7 or maybe 5. I know we set a number. Ed, do you have that legislation handy? Because I don't have the updated, and it isn't updated online.
It's not online. That I don't have it.
Let's do this. By the next meeting, we'll figure this out, how many spots we have and make sure we got the right number of appointments for the number of spots we have open.
Okay.
Joni will have a copy. I was just gonna say, Joni will have a hard copy then of what the latest update was to the number of people on it. They're supposed to be on it at least.
Didn't you? She might have just sent a roster. Joni, are you in the meeting still?
yeah, she's here.
Didn't she just send? Oh, it was Allison. I just have one that says, hang on, I might have it right here.
We can deal with this next meeting. It's not something that has to be resolved right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only 4 people, including Chris. So you have plenty of space.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the ordinances.
All right, the first one has been tabled, so on to the second ordinance. An ordinance enacting Chapter 56 of the Codified Ordinances of the Village of Mariemont entitled Comprehensive Right-of-Way Administration.
All right, that is the third reading, I believe. So I need a motion and a second to accept.
So moved.
Second.
All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Ms. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, that'll be adopted.
So are we going to start implementing this at the start of this new calendar year? We start collecting the money? Remember, Chris, I don't know if is Chris still on?
He is.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, so we are trying to follow the process of the other community that Frost Brown Todd, where you got this from.
Right, Marble Cliff, Ohio.
Marble Cliff.
So do you think, because you were going to talk to them and find out how easy it would be, because again, it's supposed to be on more of a calendar year basis is what the legislation lays out.
Right. So I'll go back. I'll be asking every utility for their length of utility in the village, and then we basically portion it out that way, and then, yeah, determine the costs we've got over the past year of the permits and divide it by the number of linear feet of each utility, and then that goes to that cost that you've got there. So yeah,
Okay,
we've got
great.
some work ahead of us.
Well, that'll be great to get it implemented, to get start collecting some of that fee. So thanks for leading us on that, Chris.
Well, sure.
So Bill, I don't know if we ever finally ended up getting to talk about this. Do we have an ETA on these 5G people? Have they dropped off that announcement that starts a clock for us, or do we know what's up?
No, they have not come in and made an application, to apply, for the permits, so that they could proceed. And I got to tell you, I mean, I'm kind of holding my breath on this one, because I'm still trying to shake down additional information, about certain feasibilities of other ways of doing it. So it's one of those things that they could come in tomorrow, or they might not come in until the first of the year. The conversation with them, the last conversation that we had, they seem to indicate that they would be reevaluating their timeline on wanting to do something. So, but I have no idea what that means.
Okay. Do we know if they've approached Cincinnati? I mean, I'm not certain whether the city.
Well, the city of Cincinnati is already essentially, 5G'd out. I mean, that is a sort of their core coverage area, and they're basically wishing now to expand, out into the suburbs from downtown. But
So they are. The reason I'm asking is I was reading a bunch of articles about it, because with this new coming 5G, phone release of all these different brands, they're talking about it, and there was discussion that it's really spotty across the U.S. Some parts of larger cities in California and New York, and some like in Chicago may have some 5G, but pretty much the rest of the country is not involved. So I'm just wondering if it's really coming that quickly.
Well, probably not as quickly as they would like you to think it is, or Apple might like you to think it is, things that they would like to sell you a new 5G, one of their upgraded phones. But in core metropolitan areas, the build out in those core areas is proceeding.
Okay.
So, but where they are in any given moment, and then of course there's competition between, say Verizon and T-Mobile and, some of the other ones, they all claim to have the better networks. But again, it's kind of a slow process, and it's kind of hard to know, exactly what the immediate intentions are, regarding us.
Okay, just wondering how long we had.
Yeah. All right, Tony.
All right, next one, to amend section 151.025A1A of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances, powers and duties of the Architectural Review Board, and to declare emergency.
All right. My thought on this one is I have no idea why we would be declaring an emergency on this. There's nothing that's time sensitive here about this.
I thought you were going to take that off. Oh, no, we were going to talk about it. I don't remember why we decided to do that, to be honest.
I agree with you, Bill. I don't think we have to do it as an emergency. Although I do have to say I found it concerning that it wasn't in the last regular meeting, even though it was submitted in plenty of time. It was submitted on Tuesday, and it didn't appear in the Friday packet that went out. So I'm fine with, we shouldn't have to do that in emergency, but I also think that when things get submitted, they need to go through the normal process and not sort of be pulled without other people being talked with.
Okay, well, obviously, there was a lot of back and forth on this thing. This has been kind of hanging around. This was first introduced, I believe, back in early June. And it's just that there was some back and forth. There was some confusion as to some of the issues in here. And I was merely trying to ascertain and have it straight before it was brought forward.
Yeah, but I think it would be good if you talk to people instead of, because again, we didn't find out it was pulled until we heard from Allison. So, again, the communication thing I would have been helpful for some of that stuff instead of, because we didn't know until it was not there in the packet. So.
Well, all right. So we're going to call this the first reading?
Yeah, I'm fine. How about you, Maggie and Marcy?
I honestly, when Bill asked me, I have no reason, I have no idea why we would have declared an emergency on this, unless, it doesn't deal with anything that we have to deal with right now. So
I was never asked about doing this on an emergency basis one way or the other.
Yeah. So
until now.
let's take it, I will move to take
I
that.
don't see why it would need to be.
I mean, that was one of the points I was trying to ascertain at the last meeting as to why this was. I probably did reach out to Maggie. We simply didn't make a connection. And again, I didn't see anything that was time sensitive here. So,
Yeah, we don't.
yeah.
And then when we, yeah, there's nothing, we're not trying to save any houses today.
Yeah. All right, so we'll call that the
Can I
first.
ask for one piece of information before the next reading? Is something that tells me what we're changing here? Because the only thing the ordinance has is what the new wording's going to be. It really doesn't tell me what we're changing here.
So it has the current and then it has the new, and we almost always have that highlighted. And in this document, the highlights aren't showing up. So Joe, I can send you.
Okay.
But it does, Joe, it has the old and the new. They're right after each other.
All right, but if you got a highlighted version, that helps me understand
Yeah.
when we're making changes. I mean,
You got to look kind of close in that new and the old and the new version of it.
It was in the report. I'll just send you the report again. You can
okay, cool. We can go over next meeting. All right.
Okay.
So do we need to do a motion?
No, it's just the first reading.
It's just going to be.
Well, we got to take it from 3 readings to. I'll let Ed.
Yeah, what you can do is just make a motion to delete the emergency provision and go from there and consider this the first reading instead of going on for a second and third tonight. That's all.
All right. Have I got that motion in a second?
I will make that motion.
Okay.
I will second.
Amend this to
Second.
take away the declare an emergency.
Okay, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin, Mrs. Rankin.
Mrs. Rankin says aye,
Aye. Joe Stelzer.
Mary
Aye.
Hartman, Mary Hartman.
Right.
aye. Oh my God, wow. You went back on that one, Marcy.
My age is showing.
Shut up.
All right. Ordinance to amend chapter 31.
Yes, ordinance amending chapter 31.077 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding building commissioner.
All right, that's the first reading. We'll have the second reading next, council.
All right, next one to amend Mariemont Code Chapter 79, Schedule IB1, no parking of the Mariemont Code of Ordinance to update current requirements for parking on Wooster Pike.
Again, first reading. We'll have the second reading. That's council.
All right, ordinance amending Chapter 32.13, Rule 19 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
Again, first reading, second reading, next council.
All right, ordinance amending Section 32.13, Rules of Council, Z, Rule 25 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
Okay, first reading, second reading, next council.
Ordinance removing Chapter 31.078 from the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding dog and cat wardens.
It's dog and cat all together,
Dog
Tony.
and
You're
cat
just
all
being
That's right,
efficient.
just put it one
Being
word.
efficient.
Uh-huh.
First, that was the first reading. We'll have the second reading, next council.
All right, ordinance amending Chapter 90.01A1B of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding dogs or other animals running at large, dangerous or vicious dogs.
First reading, next reading, second reading, next council.
Right, ordinance amending Section 32.13 Rules of Council, GG of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
First reading, next council.
Repealing number O-15-16 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
Okay, first reading, next council.
All right, ordinance amending Section 91.36 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
First reading, next council.
All right, to amend Section 151.26A6 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances, signs within residential district.
Okay, first reading, second reading, next council.
And the last one, to amend Section 70.30 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding obeying traffic control devices.
All right, that was the first reading. We'll have the second reading. Our next council, which by the way, you know, our next council, where as Joe, I think was trying to point out, we only have 3 remaining council meetings. So we want to get some stuff done here. We need to be, you know, concentrating and bearing down. Maggie, look awake.
Mhm.
Bill, hey, really quick. The report that we submitted, the report that was submitted, we said that 014-16, did not want to remove. We said we weren't going to do that. So that was the one about the exterior of buildings and stuff like that. And we said that it's in Marcy's committee. And so we're going to wait until Marcy's committee.
Oh, yep. We were gonna wait. Sorry, I missed that when you read that. Yes, we're gonna wait till because she's got a bunch of stuff going already. So we really just kind of voiced support for her work, and we were not going to make a change currently because we don't have anything to replace it with.
So what are we doing? We're pulling it for now?
Pull that. Yeah, we voted not to take action on that.
Okay, do I need a motion on that, Ed?
Yeah, to table it.
Okay. Well, the committee's report actually, the committee's report actually did not recommend that we delete it. So, but
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but whatever you say, Ed, however, because again, the report said, let's just, we can't replace it with something yet. Marcy's working on that.
Right, yeah. And I remember I looked at Maggie's report last time. Now I remember. I did send a letter to Polycastro about it being likely unconstitutional if challenged, but I would recommend it until we have something to replace it. We just leave it as it is. And then if we ever get in a situation where we need to enforce it, we just not enforce it.
So can I just make a motion to remove it from the table altogether?
Yeah, from a committee altogether.
Yeah. Well, and remove this piece of legislation from our readings forever.
It was a mistake. It never should have gone to the ordinance. So.
Right.
We just want to strike it altogether. That's what we're saying here, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what this ordinance does, is it strikes it all together.
No, strike the removal of it. Sorry.
Yeah, strike the removal. Right.
Because it says repeal the ordinance, and again, the committee report actually said we don't want to repeal it because we don't have anything to replace it with yet.
Right.
To your point, Ed. So
I think
how do we need the motion?
just make a motion to remove this particular item from the agenda until such later notice. That's all.
All right.
Do that.
Remove this item from the agenda until further notice. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah, no, you can't first it, Bill. So I'll first.
Well, I'm making the motion. You give it first.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
Okay, I so move. Somebody second.
Second.
Second. All right, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right. It was 01416. Yeah, 01416. All right, we're adjourned.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Good night.
All right. Night. Bye.
Good night, Maggie. Good night, Avi.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Ellen.
I can't hang up because I can't find my thing. Okay.
And be careful what you say. No swearing.